Hello friends, Miss Debbie couldn't wait to see you again this week. We have a fun STEM lesson planned for you today. But before I get started, I just wanted to make a note that Miss Debbie does not own any of the rights to any of the activities that I do or songs or books that I share. So before we get started, let's sing our hello song. Hello, hello, can you clap your hands? Hello, hello. Can you clap your hands? Can you reach up high? Can you touch your toes? Can you turn around? Can you say hello, 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 hello? Can you stomp your feet? Hello, hello. Can you stomp your feet? Can you reach up high? Can you touch your toes? Can you turn around? Can you say hello? Hello, friends, and welcome to STEM Group. So it's springtime, and in the month of April, there's lots of rain showers. Have you ever wondered why it rains? Where rain comes from? I mean, we know it comes from up in the sky, and it comes down and falls upon us and the ground. But how does it happen? Do you think there's someone up in the sky that's dumping down buckets of water on us? Where does rain come from? Well, it's really pretty interesting. The rain that we have wouldn't happen without the sun. It's Debbie's big happy sun here. Without sun, there would not be any rain. The sun is part of something called the water cycle. Now, a cycle is something that goes round and round, kind of like a bicycle, like the wheel on a bicycle keeps going around and around and around. Well, the water cycle is something that happens over and over and over again. Now, before we get started, in order to have rain, we need to also have water. Now, the water in the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, puddles of water on the ground, has been around since the dinosaurs. The same water that the dinosaurs were walking in is the same water that we have on Earth today, because the water has been recycled. Now, how that happens is through the water cycle. Okay, so what happens next is the sun is out in the sky and it's warming up the water in our oceans and lakes. And that water that's getting warm turns to something called vapor. Now, vapor is pretty much invisible, but sometimes we can see the vapor that comes out of a teapot that's boiling on the stove, and it comes out and it's white and puffy and it's really hot. Or you can see vapor when you're in the shower or the bathroom and someone's taking a shower and it gets really steamy and foggy. Miss Debbie has a picture here too of a cup of coffee or even a bowl of soup. It gets really hot and you can see some smoky substance coming up above the cup. That's called vapor. What happens is the sun warms up the water and vapor starts to rise. Now vapor rises up into the sky. And when we go further up into the sky, the air is colder. It gets colder and colder and colder, like on the top of a mountain. Sometimes there's snow on the top of the mountain when there isn't snow anywhere else, because the higher up in the sky we go, the colder it gets. So these warm vapors are rising up into the sky, and they hit the colder air. As the water vapor travels up into the sky and hits the colder air, it starts a process called condensation. That means the water that is rising up in a vapor hits the cold air and it starts to turn back into water again. And the water droplets stick to each other because they've collected dust and dirt along the way up into the air. So they start to connect to each other and they form clouds. Those are the clouds that we see up in the sky. They're water droplets collected with dirt and dust. And so the clouds up in the sky are filling up and filling up and filling up with water vapor that's turned back into water again. And when those clouds get really, really full and they can't hold any more water anymore, then rain starts to come down on us. Sometimes snow comes down, sleet, hail. That happens in the colder months when the air is really, really cold. But what happens when the rain comes down is called precipitation. And that's when it rains. The clouds are heavy and they can't hold the liquid anymore. And soon the rain comes down upon us. And where does the rain land when it comes down upon us? It lands right back into the oceans and the rivers and the lakes and the puddles where it all started from. And then the sun is out and it starts to heat up the water again and vapors rise and the water cycle starts all over again. Okay, so the first activity I have planned for today is something that you're going to need the help of an adult with. Now, the first part is definitely done by an adult because we're working with hot water and Miss Debbie does not want anybody to burn themselves. So what you're going to do is have an adult boil some water on the stove. Miss Debbie has some hot water here and I'm going to pour it into my mason jar. Pour a little bit of water in here. Then when I'm done, I'm going to put it back on the stove so nobody touches a hot pot and nobody gets burnt. Now, this hot water in here is supposed to represent water that's been heated from the sun. I'm not sure if you can see the vapor, but there's vapor rising out of here right now. Miss Debbie's going to add a little food coloring to this so that you can see it a little bit better, but you don't have to add food coloring to it at home. I'm going to stir it up a little bit. Okay, so that's hot water. Now we are going to pretend that this hot water is rising up into the sky and it's starting to form a vapor. The vapor is rising up and it's collecting once it hits the cold air, and that's evaporation. Miss Debbie's going to put some ice. This is the part where the kids can help out. You put a paper plate on top, a paper bowl, and you can help out by putting some ice on top of the plate. Now the ice is going to represent the cold air, the air that gets very cold once it starts to rise. Okay, now this is going to take a couple minutes or so, but you're going to keep an eye on the glass jar. And you're going to see evaporation taking place. And then condensation. We're going to pretend that this is the cold air and the cloud is forming. And pretty soon the cloud is going to get so full of water that it can't hold it anymore. And it's going to start to rain, precipitate. So what's going to happen is you're going to see water droplets coming down the sides of the jar as rain would come down on us. So that's our first fun activity. Okay, our second activity is going to represent the water cycle in a plastic bag. If you have a plastic bag at home, pretty good size Ziploc bag, something that zips on the top so that you can hold the water in because we're going to be pouring water in here. Before we pour the water in, what we're going to do is we are going to draw the sun. Miss Debbie has drawn the sun in the corner of my bag. Then I'm going to put a cloud to represent the cloud. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to take, Miss Debbie has about a 1/4 cup water here, but just a little bit of water. You don't need a lot. And I put food coloring so that you can see it a little bit better. But at home, if you don't have food coloring, it's still okay. You can do this experiment. I'm going to pour it into the bag like so. And then I'm going to seal it tight so that we don't make a mess. There we go. What you're going to do is you are going to tape this to your window. A nice sunny spot. Because like I said, We need the sun in order to make rain. Miss Debbie has some blue tape here, whatever kind of tape that you have, but make sure that it's strong enough to hold your bag to the window. Miss Debbie's going to rip this up. And make sure I have 2 pieces. And I'm going to pretty much put 1 piece in the corner here. And another piece in the corner here. And this is not going to happen as quickly as our first experiment. This is something fun for the kids to watch over a few days. And they're going to watch the water warm up from the sun, and it's going to rise, and then it's going to come down as rain, precipitation. So that's another fun activity that you can do. Miss Debbie has made a rain stick. This rain stick is supposed to resemble the sound of the rain coming down in a rainstorm. I only put a little bit of rice in here so it wouldn't be too loud. We want them to just get the idea of the sound of the rain coming down. So what we're going to start off with is a tube. If you don't have a paper towel tube, you can look and see if you have an old wrapping paper tube in the house. But you're going to first start off with your tube. Then what you're going to do is on a piece of paper, you are going to trace around the tube. You're going to use a pen or a pencil or crayon, whatever you have, and trace around the tube. Then you're going to make another circle outside of the circle that you just traced. Okay? Then you're going to cut this circle out, leaving the circle, the small circle in the middle that you traced. And you're going to take a pair of scissors. Whoopsie, landed in my water. That's okay. You're going to get a pair of scissors, and you're going to snip along the outside of the circle until it meets the inside circle. And your snips are going to be about 1.5, 2 inches apart. You're going to continue to make snips all the way around your circle. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you are going to put your circle on top of your tube, and you're going to need tape for this. If you don't have tape, you can try glue. It might take a little bit longer to dry, but it will still work. And you're going to bend down the pieces that you cut and tape them along to the tube. You're going to do that all the way around until it's secured, because you're going to be putting rice in here. Rice or dried beans or macaroni. So you're going to have to hold it tight so nothing spills out. This is Miss Debbie's finished product. I taped my paper all around the end. Once you're done with that and you have one end taped, you're going to tip it upside down, and you're going to get a piece of tin foil. Miss Debbie cut this a little bit too long, but it really only has to be about 10 inches long, your tin foil. And what you're going to do is you are going to roll it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just roll it all up. Like this. And you're going to squeeze it. Squeeze it tight. A broom, anything that you have in your house that resembles something that looks like this. Even if you go outside and find a stick, something with this width. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of tin foil and you're going to start to wrap it around the pole. Nice and tight. And then squeeze it so it keeps its shape. Okay? Then you're going to slide it off and put it to the side. The next thing you're going to do is take a smaller piece of tin foil. This is about 7 inches wide, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to roll it up. And squeeze it. So it's really thin. Squeeze it nice and tight. Super, super tight. So you make it nice and thin. And you're going to wrap this around something smaller. Miss Debbie used the bottom of a wooden spoon. You could also use a pen. You could start by wrapping it tightly around the pen, like so. and then sliding it up a little bit so that you can finish it off. And you're going to make it a lot tighter and a lot smaller than the first one. You're going to pull your pen out. Now we can stretch it out a little bit. Okay. The next step is you're going to take this smaller tinfoil spiral and you're going to put it into the larger tinfoil spiral. You might need the help of an adult for this, but you're just going to put it inside. Next, you're going to put it inside your tube like this. Put it inside your tube. And then, if you have rice or dried beans or macaroni, you're going to pour it into your tube. Just like so. Pour it in. Okay? So you get the idea. And then your second circle, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to cut it out exactly the same way you did the first circle. You're going to tape it on to the other side. And then you have your rain stick. Miss Debbie left it in its original form, but you could also get another piece of paper and wrap it around and tape it on and decorate it if you'd like. Just like so. Or you could use some streamers, stickers, markers, whatever you have to decorate your rain stick. And that is going to sound like the rain. Okay, for our next activity, we're going to demonstrate condensation and precipitation. We're going to pretend that a sponge is our cloud. If you don't have a clean sponge that you can use at home, you can easily use a washcloth that you've folded up a couple times to make it somewhat thick and enough that it can fit over a glass jar. We need a glass jar so that we can see what's happening inside. So Miss Debbie's going to use my sponge and I'm going to pretend that this is my cloud. You're going to get a bowl of water. I added food coloring so that you could see it better, but if you don't have food coloring at home, it's okay, it will still work. And what you can use is either a spoon. I have a tiny little measuring spoon here. Medicine cup, medicine dropper, whatever you have to make it fun. But the most important thing to know is you're going to slowly add water to your cloud. Because rain happens slowly. It doesn't happen really fast. It's a buildup of water. So what Miss Debbie's going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of water in my spoon and I'm going to pour it onto my sponge cloud. And these are water vapors that are traveling up into the sky. They're meeting the cold air. And they're starting to connect together. And they're forming a cloud. The cloud is getting full of water because the vapor has turned back into water up in the cold sky. See how slowly it happens? It takes a while for the cloud to fill up. So I keep filling it up and filling it up. Miss Debbie's going to go a little bit faster so I don't waste your time. But when you're at home, do it slowly so that you can see the process. It's filling up and filling up until it can't hold any more water. Come on, rain. You can do it. Sponge holds a lot of water, doesn't it? Oh, did you see the drop? It might be hard for you to see at home. But as I pour the water into my cup, it slowly starts to rain. There it goes. Do you see it? It's falling down. I can't hold any more water. And it's starting to rain in my jar. So I hope you have fun with that activity too. Now, the last thing that we're going to do is do a craft. Miss Debbie has included a printable for you. Again, I don't own the rights to this printable, but I'm sharing it with you so that you can have fun making a cloud with little rain droplets coming out of it. You can just color this, or you could add cotton balls onto the cloud to make it a little more fun, but it's simply just a coloring activity. I hope you had fun joining me, learning about the water cycle and where rain comes from. So in the next couple weeks, when it starts to rain and there's more rain, we can think about the rain cycle or the water cycle and where the rain comes from. Miss Debbie thought you might enjoy an online book. It's called Rain, and I really like this book. It is by Manja Stojic, and you can find this on YouTube. So I hope you enjoy reading this book. I hope you enjoy doing the activities. And before we end our STEM lesson, I'd love to sing our goodbye song. Here goes. It's time to wave our hands and say goodbye. Goodbye. It's time to wave our hands and say goodbye. Goodbye. We've had lots of fun, my friends, and we'll do it all again. It's time to wave our hands and say goodbye. Goodbye, friends. Stay happy and healthy, and I'll see you soon. Bye.